Namaste everybody, this is Krishna Bharadwaj, and in this video we shall set foot and enter into a more recent addition to the NET Yoga syllabus, which is Unit 3 Yoga Upanishads. Now this was added to the syllabus in 2019, there you go, Yoga Upanishads, Unit 3 Yogic Texts to Yoga Upanishads. As I said, this is a recent addition. It was added in 2019 to the NET syllabus, and there have only been two batches who've given the exam with Yoga Upanishads: June 2019 batch and the December 2019 batch. And in the June 2019 paper, which I gave, there were a lot of questions from this unit, which shows that this is a very important part of the syllabus. The problem with this unit has been that it's been very difficult to get study material for it. This being a very new addition, it's been hard to get any material to prepare for this. And therefore, we hope that this series of videos in which we'll be covering all the Yoga Upanishads will be really helpful for you all. So let's get started. Now, the first Upanishad which we'll be seeing is the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. And the NET syllabus says that we need to cover 2 chapters from this Upanishad. There are actually 6 chapters in total, but we are going to be looking only at the 2nd chapter and the 6th chapter. Now, funnily enough, the Shvetashvatara Upanishad is not technically considered to be a Yoga Upanishad. If you remember the video which I did about the Mukhya Upanishads, the principal Upanishads, I had mentioned that there is a list of 108 Upanishads, which is called the Muktika Canon. And now out of these 108, certain Upanishads are considered to be Shaiva Upanishads. They deal with Shiva. Certain Upanishads are considered to be Sannyasa Upanishads. Certain Upanishads are considered to be Shakta. Some are considered to be Vaishnava Upanishads. And certain Upanishads are considered to be Yoga Upanishads. Now that is a list of about 20 Upanishads, if I'm not wrong. And Shvetashvatara doesn't feature in that list. Now that division has been made by somebody, we don't know who. But Shvetashvatara Upanishad does not technically come under the division of Yoga Upanishads. Some people actually even categorize it under Mukhya Upanishad. They consider it to be a principal Upanishad. One reason is that there is a commentary written to the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, which is traditionally attributed to Adi Shankara. Now, obviously, if Adi Shankara has written a bhashya on it, it has to be an important Upanishad. And that is one reason why it's considered to be Mukhya Upanishad. Now, the problem is this bhashya, we do not know if it was actually Adi Shankara who wrote it. There is some debate as to its authorship. And therefore, some people include this into the principal Upanishad. Some people don't include it. But mostly the first 10 are considered to be, they are authentically considered to be the Mukhya Upanishads. Shvetashvatara sometimes features in that list, sometimes it doesn't. So that is about the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. So this is what we'll be seeing first. Now, first we'll be looking at the 2nd chapter, and the topics we'll be covering are, firstly, we'll look at the techniques and importance of Dhyana Yoga. Now, the first chapter of the Upanishad mentions that Dhyana Yoga is the means to attain self-realization. It talks a lot about Dhyana Yoga and its importance. And Dhyana Yoga is the process of fixing the mind on the self and meditating on it. So the 2nd Upanishad takes it up and describes how one has to do Dhyana Yoga. The Upanishad contains hymns and a prayer to the sun god to grant one the power of knowledge and illumination for the success in Dhyana Yoga. So we find a lot of mention of Surya Devata. There are prayers addressed to him in the 2nd chapter. There are stotrams, there are hymns in praise of Lord Surya, because he is considered to be the one who gives one the power of illumination, the power of grasping knowledge. So we find that. The technique of undertaking Dhyana Yoga is to sit steady with the head, neck and chest held erect and to withdraw the sense organs into the heart using the mind. Now the first point we might remember from the Bhagavad-Gita, Samam Kaya Shiro Grivam, to sit straight with the 3 parts. Now instead of, they say holding the chest erect, which is basically the back. Holding the chest, neck and the head in a straight line, and to withdraw the sense organs into the heart using the mind. Yatha samharate chayam kurmonganiva sarvacha. Just as though a tortoise withdraws all its limbs, the 4 limbs as well as its head inside the shell, one has to withdraw all the sense organs and focus them into the heart, because as we've seen in many places, the heart is supposed to be the place where the supreme soul, the Atman resides, the soul resides, and therefore one has to basically means that one has to focus attention and concentrate on the self which is within. So that is the technique. The suitable place for undertaking dhyana is The place has to be a shelter, such as a cave. It has to be an even and a clean surface. It should be free from wind, pebbles, fire, and sand, because all these are considered to be things which hinder with one's practice of meditation. It should be free from sound and water. Now, the reason why they've mentioned water is because if you're close to a water body, a lot of animals could frequent that place, a lot of people could frequent that water body to collect water, and that would again cause disturbance. And by sound, they mean loud noises, anything which is of a disturbing nature. And it should not be a public shelter, because again, there would be people and there would be issues with that. And it should be pleasing to the mind, but not painful to the eyes. So this is the description of the place where one has to undertake dhyana. Now, the next topic is the sequence of pranayama and its importance. Now, the Shvetashvatara Upanishad per se does not speak about this topic. It does not cover how one has to do pranayama. It mentions pranayama, but it does not speak about how one has to proceed, with it. Now, we do find a reference to this in the commentary of Adi Shankara. As I had mentioned earlier, there is a commentary to the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, which is traditionally attributed to Adi Shankara. And in his commentary, Adi Shankara quotes from another text called the Yajnavalkya Smriti to talk about the practice and the importance of pranayama. He quotes a big passage from Yajnavalkya Smriti in his commentary to the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. And in that passage, we find the sequence and importance of pranayama. We find how one has to proceed with it. Now, what all do we find in it? We find a lot of points in it. One has to practice pranayama in the asana in which one has attained perfection. So there has to be an asana in which one has attained siddhi, where one feels extremely comfortable and can hold it without any effort. So that is the asana in which one has attained siddhi is the one in which a person has to practice pranayama. He should sit facing east or north, spreading kusha grass and deer skin on a soft seat. The person should sit with his head and neck straight, mouth closed, placing the left hand on the other and fixing the eyes on the tip of the nose. Left hand on the other practically means to sit like this, keeping this near your genital region, and fixing the eyes on the tip of the nose, nasikagra. And Ganesha should be worshipped before commencement of the practice. The practice of pranayama is as follows. Yajnavalkya Smriti first talks about the practice of Nadi Shuddhi, which is done without kumbhaka, which is done without retention, just inhaling through the left nostril and exhaling through the right nostril, and the duration is for 12 matras. A matras is one matra, I think, is traditionally supposed to be the time taken normally to finish one inhalation and exhalation. So that is one matra. And so they say it has to be practiced for 12 matras. It's a common measure that we'll be finding in all the Yoga Upanishads, that they use the term matra. And so that is Nadi Shuddhi. And Yajnavalkya Smriti first says that one has to do Nadi Shuddhi because this leads to the purification of the nadis. One should practice this every day in a solitary place as per the instructions of the teacher after bathing and performing Sandhya Vandanam. Sandhya Vandanam is a practice that is done 3 times a day, in the morning, at the noon time, and in the evening. Sandhya Kala. Sandhya means the time when 2 parts of the day meet together. Early morning is when night joins into day, and the noon time is when the day merges into the afternoon time, and evening is when the day merges into the night. So these 3 times one has to perform Sandhya on the night. It's a practice followed by Brahmins and anybody who wears the Yajnopavita. And so it says that one has to practice pranayama after bathing and performing Sandhya Vandanam. Yajnavalkya Smriti also prescribes Kumbhaka Pranayama, which is pranayama with retention. Kumbhaka Pranayama is to be practiced as follows. There are 3 parts to the practice of pranayama. First one is Rechaka, which is exhalation, Puraka, which is inhalation, and Kumbhaka, which is retention. One should inhale for 16 matras, hold the breath for 64 matras, and exhale for 32 matras. Now, this is the standard duration we find in most of the texts. There are also other durations prescribed in certain texts, but this ratio 1:4:2 is a standard ratio we find in many texts. So one has to inhale for 16 matras, retain for 64 matras, and exhale for 32 matras in the ratio of 1:4:2. There is another technique which some rishis speak of. In the Yajnavalkya Smriti itself, we find a mention of another technique which certain rishis speak of. One should inhale through both the nostrils for 16 matras, Hold the breath for 64 matras and then exhale through one nostril for 16 matras in the ratio of 1:4:1. So this is just another technique which is mentioned. Yajnavalkya Smriti also compares pranayama with the syllables of Omkara as follows. We saw that there are three parts to the pranayama, Rechaka, Puraka and Kumbhaka, and three parts to the Omkara, A, U and Makara. So Yajnavalkya Smriti compares these two. Akara represents Rechaka, which is exhalation, and also represents Srishti, which is creation. And Ukara represents Puraka, which is inhalation, and Pralaya or dissolution. Makara represents Kumbhaka, which is retention, and Sthiti or preservation. So, and also the importance of pranayama is as follows. It leads to the purification of the nadis and removal of all physical impurities. One who practices pranayama for 3 years gets freed from his sins. Yajnavalkya Smriti actually goes so far as to say that even if such a person kills somebody very close to him, he would still not, contract any sin. I think the expression used is even if he kills his own mother or something of that sort, very extreme. It basically means that sins won't attach to him. And it also, lightness of the body, brightness, increase in the digestive fire, and audibility of the nada are the signs seen in one who has purified his nadis. We also find this mentioned in the Hatha Pradipika in slightly greater detail. Vapuh Krishatvam, Vadane Prasannata, Nadasputatvam, Nayanetu Nirmale, and all that. So these are the signs of one who has purified his nadis. Prior symptoms of yoga siddhis. Now, yoga siddhi is attained by a person who has perfected yoga. Now, this Upanishad says that there are certain signs which indicate that this person is very close to attaining yoga siddhi. And what are they? The first signs of entering yoga are lightness of the body, health. Non-covetousness means that the person feels no desire to accumulate anything, clearness of complexion, a beautiful voice, agreeable body odor, and reduced excretion of urine and feces. Now, these are the prior symptoms of yoga siddhis. Importance of yoga siddhis. One who has attained yoga siddhis is said to possess a body made of the fire of yoga. The term used in the Upanishad is Yoga Agnimayam Shariram. Yoga Agnimayam Shariram. It's a body made out of the fire of yoga. And what does this body do to one? Such a person goes beyond diseases, old age, and death. Roga, Jara, Mrityu. He goes beyond all these three. Yoga siddhis lead to the realization of the self, which is the goal of Dhyana Yoga. When a person has attained yoga siddhis, it means that he's close to attaining self-realization. He is on the right path. So therefore, the yoga siddhis help one to attain self-realization. So that is the importance of yoga siddhis. The last topic we'll be seeing in the second chapter is Tattvajnana. Tattvajnana means knowledge of reality. Tattva means that which is reality, the existence. Jnana means knowledge, so knowledge of reality. Brahman, which is the supreme reality, is described as birthless, unchanging, and untouched by all categories. It is the reality of one's own self and exists everywhere as the underlying reality. And when the yogi realizes Brahman through Dhyana Yoga, as the Upanishad has mentioned, he gets freed from all bondages and attains moksha. This is a very extremely cliched idea which we'll be finding across all the Upanishads, that Brahman is the that which exists everywhere, the supreme reality. So there is nothing groundbreaking about this, but this is what the Upanishad, the second chapter, mentions about Tattvajnana. Now with that, we come to the end of the second chapter and move to the topics under sixth chapter. The first topic we'll be seeing is the nature of God in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. God, the word that the Upanishad uses to refer to God is Deva, which literally means the bright one, that the bright being. And this attribute of brightness is given. One reason could be that because it refers to the consciousness, the pure consciousness. That is what is referred to as the Deva or God. And since consciousness is the light or that which illumines everything, the term Deva is used. So Deva is repeatedly described as the cause of creation. Again, an extremely cliched idea. It's a principle of Vedanta itself, that the cause of creation, everything, the cause of the entire cosmos is Brahman. He's the Nimitta and Upadana Karan. He is the knower of the whole universe and also pervades it. He is the creator of time. The expression creator of time is repeated in many places. I think 3 or 4 places we find the expression within the sixth chapter, that he is the creator of time, the substratum of the five elements, Pancha Mahabhutas, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, and the one who brings about the association between the self and Prakriti. Now, this is an interesting idea. In the philosophy of Yoga and Sankhya, we see that there are two separate existences. There is the Purusha and there is the Prakriti. Purusha refers to the pure consciousness and Prakriti refers to nature. And it is said that creation comes about when these two get united. Now, the Sankhya and the Yoga systems do not specifically mention how this creation, how this union of Purusha and Prakriti comes about. But here in the Upanishad, we see that this association of the self refers to the Purusha, and Prakriti, which is nature, it takes place because of God. It is God Himself who does it, the Deva Himself who does it. He remains hidden in all beings as the Sakshi, the witness, and the supervisor of actions. God is called the Hamsa. Hamsa means the swan, since it represents discrimination. Now, there is a popular belief that a swan has the ability to um, separate milk from water. Even if you place a bowl which has a mixture of milk and water in front of the swan, it is said that the swan has the ability to drink only the milk and leave out the water. So the swan represents the power of discrimination, to nitya nitya vastu viveka, to choose the good and leave out what is not. So the swan represents that ability, which is why certain people who have attained a high stature spiritually are called Paramahamsas. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, for example, or more recently and far more controversially, Paramahamsa Nityananda we have. So that the term Paramahamsa, the great swan, refers to a person who has perfect discrimination, who has the ability to distinguish that which exists from that which doesn't exist, that which is good from that which is bad. So that is why the term Hamsa is used. Now, what are the techniques to realize this Deva who resides inside everyone? The Shvetashvatara Upanishad lays emphasis on Dhyana Yoga, which is the path of contemplation to realize God. The Upanishad mentions Sankhya and Yoga as the means of realizing God. It mentions that this realization can come about by the techniques mentioned in the Sankhya and Yoga. Therefore, the metaphysical understanding of Sankhya combined with the practical knowledge of Yoga serve as the technique to realize God. The final topic from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad is the attainment of liberation. Now, what happens when once a person has attained that liberation, that self-realization? What happens when one realizes the Deva residing in the intellect? He attains everlasting happiness. Now, usually the term Hridi is used. Hridaya is used to refer to the place where the Deva resides. The soul resides is said to be the Hridaya. Now, Adi Shankara interprets this Hridaya to mean the intellect and not the physical heart. So, some places you might see that the God is, Brahman or God or the soul resides in the heart. Some places you might see that he resides in the intellect. They're just different ways of putting the same thing. One becomes freed from all bondages and goes beyond death on attaining liberation. It is the realization of the self alone that will result in the cessation of sorrows. It says that there is no other way through which one can attain, relief from all the sorrows. It actually gives an example. It says, when that day comes, when man can roll up the sky, like it's a cloth thing, like it's a mat. When a man can roll up the sky like it's a mat, then he may attain liberation without knowledge of the self. Basically, meaning to say that there is no way that. Without self-realization, a person attains liberation. There is no way. So these are the topics under the Shvetashvatara Upanishad mentioned in the UGC NET syllabus. I shall meet you again with a different video covering the next Yoga Upanishad. Till then, thank you.